Hey everyone, Rushlock here, and today we're going over the EVE Uprising, the latest expansion announcements coming out in this coming November. As always, if you want the latest news, tips, and tricks for EVE Online, look down below the video, hit the subscribe button. That way you get notified when we put up new content. So, also another little tip when you watch a video, going to the playback speed and increasing it to your own preference will get you through a video much quicker and get you the information that you're looking for. So Uprising, a major new expansion. New expansion, conceded. I agree entirely. Major? That's where a lot of questions reside still. Let's look at the post here. Battle-ready Capsuleers, the universe never stands still. And EVE Online's first narrative arc has already been building tension between the empires. Now, the stage is set to bring about an intense, thrilling future in the New Eden. The time to choose your battle, fly your colors, and reap the greatest rewards that victory and loyalty can offer draws near. Uprising is a brand new narrative-driven expansion for EVE Online, launching in November, ushering in major improvements to factional warfare, introducing a suite of new ships in addition to a plethora of balance changes to existing ships, corporation and alliance logos on your vessels as part of the introduction to heraldry, new visually immersive hangars, and more. So, my understanding from a statement from, I believe, CCP Convict was the faction warfare iteration with the expansion at launch is going to be the first stage. So they are not putting the entire faction warfare rework in with this expansion. That will happen over time. One of the biggest pieces of that people have been pointing out is that currently faction warfare requires that you leave your current corporation to join a faction warfare corporation. The first stage of this faction warfare rework still has that requirement. And that is a huge put-off for a lot of users as they don't want to leave their current corporations for a variety of understandable reasons to participate in this quote-unquote new content. Your only choices in that situation are to make a new character or to bite the bullet and leave your corporation. There are plans, as they were announced at FanFest, to remove this requirement, but CCP has announced that that's nuance or that capability has been pushed back into next year. Ideally first quarter, but we don't have a hard date for when that will actually happen. So the meat of this expansion is the faction warfare rework. Don't misunderstand, there are other things that are neat or cool or shiny, but quote unquote content wise, it's all faction warfare or nothing. Nothing else has been shared about this expansion regarding new contents, with the exception of maybe a new ship line. I believe this, we're making this video in September, so this month at some point we're supposed to see the first couple of new ships in this line. I presume they're going to be faction warfare oriented, maybe not. Maybe each empire starts off with a frigate. I don't know, but we'll find out as time goes on. We have the video here. We'll play it in this tab here in just a moment. Let's move on with the article to try to keep the video a bit brief. The first narrative arc has already begun with the discovery of an abandoned Edencom structure after its cloak began failing over a storm planet in the system of Athwan. Capsuleers have also found mysterious construction sites across space, with some believing these to be stellar harvesters and stargates being independently constructed by the empires, leaving the tenuous piece between them at risk. Keep your eyes open as the narrative arc progresses, and be sure to take part as the story unfolds. Your involvement will help shape New Eden by revealing fresh features to help in future battles, including brand new ships in-game, some of which will be unveiled much sooner than others. The introduction of these new ships will increase the diversity of tools available to a wide array of Capsuleers, from those just starting their journey to more established veterans, while bringing some serious visual intimidation to the battlefield. This looks like a Reaper to me. I brought up some images before this video to compare. It is a bit different, but I see a Minotaur frigate. I guess, I don't know if it's supposed to be the new one or what is going on with this image, because there's no information to go along with it. The Uprising expansion brings many significant changes to factional warfare, some of which are outlined in the State of the Union news item, including a complete rework of complexes and a new advantage functionality that allows you to give your chosen faction an edge. This part of the expansion aims to evolve factional warfare into a more intense and exciting combat playstyle for faction warfare enthusiasts. There will be more incentives to support and fight for your favorite empire, a wider array of opportunities to contribute to the war effort across the war zone, and new events will be introduced, creating more possibilities for empires to issue campaign objectives to those who enlist. So, I'm hearing that they're going to change the complex system here initially. complexes are how objectives are pushed or control is pushed for a faction in a faction warfare system currently. But they also mentioned that there will be more incentives. I don't know if there will be more means in the future or there will also be in this expansion. The impression that I've had about the faction warfare revamp is that their overall goal is to make it so that something other than just PvP can quote unquote move the progress bar. Obviously, PvP should be the main thing that moves it, but for people who want to participate but don't have whatever the capacity or the willingness or the interest in Pew Pew, can also quote unquote do missions, do exploration, do mining, whatever within faction warfare space, and still to some marginal degree be contributing to the overall war effort. I'm not sure if we're going to see those opportunities at the launch of the expansion. That's kind of my litmus test when the expansion drops for success or failure is, can I log in every day and push bars through a variety of tasks? Or is it, hey, just come into faction warfare space, do these new and improved quote-unquote complexes, and that's the only thing that you have available to you, and their hope is that we'll be distracted by random pew-pew fights. Maybe, I don't know. This is only the beginning. There are even more exciting improvements following this expansion that will help open the gates even further to the factional warfare in EVE, with a significant update that includes factional allegiance, targeted for first quarter of 2023. This will allow players to aid a faction in faction warfare, irrespective of corporation or alliance. So this is what we talked about earlier. Looks like my memory had served that they're looking for first quarter of next year to remove this requirement. Also, by stating this is only the beginning, this gives me the impression that everything they talked about to this point is included in the current expansion. We'll have to wait and see. A phased rollout of faction warfare improvements enables us to observe how players in the current faction warfare ecosystem interact with the features without tipping the scales too drastically too quickly. This is like corporate speak for it isn't already anyway, so we can't roll it out if we don't have it. But it does raise a valid point that you want to move as few variables as possible at one time to fully grasp and understand what those variables are having an impact-wise with their user base. Allegiance is a focus to address, as we know many Capsuleers are excited about faction warfare and are eager to get involved. And they will not get involved as long as this system is not in place. So I imagine a lot of people will roll alts for faction warfare initially. People who are already active in that theater in the first place get to use their mains, but we'll see. For those pilots not currently enlisted in faction warfare, there will still be plenty for you to do across the war zone. Roles to perform, stories to partake in, and amazing rewards to earn. I don't know how you're going to get rewards other than logging in for the story parts, and then roles to perform across the war zone still implies to me that there'll be something to do outside of combat, which to me is a good thing, but I'm still unclear about when we're going to see that facet of the faction warfare change itself. Furthermore, the new front lines in factional warfare will draw pilots closer to the borders of their opponents and present new rewarding challenges that focus Capsuleer efforts towards key emerging conflict hotspots where Empire history will be written. So they want us to feel as if we're deciding the course of the story and the narrative as players. They did this before with the Triglavian events and contents, and I think overall that was successful. I think some people had unrealistic expectations that CCP was going to build the Triglavian faction and then let players decide if they would even launch it or not. Like, that doesn't make any sense. They were always going to take the number of systems they were going to take. What systems were taken were player decided. And so starting points and destination are predetermined typically, but the journey in between and the nuanced details in between, that is what I believe will be player decided or player impacted. Alongside this big shakeup of combat strategy, opportunities to earn rewards that unlock heraldry on ships will be made available. Corporation and alliance logos on ships will act as the introduction to heraldry, with many more customization options on the horizon following this initial launch, such as Citadel skins and holograms on ships. What I'm curious about is what corporations are going to have their logos available. Every sounds like a huge undertaking that they've never really been able to keep up with in terms of like corporation ads and stations and things like that. So obviously incorporating a corporation ad is very, very more intensive than a logo. But if a player makes a corporation, what will be the metrics for being required to get your logo in game? That's what I'm curious about. Who's doing these manual reviews? And what will be the threshold for getting your manual review requested? If that wasn't enough, oh boy, there will be massive enhancements to upwell hangers that will ramp up the visual immersion while docking and undocking into Eden. The special attention put into your visual upgrade helps ensure that when you undock from your new hangar, you'll get out into space at the speed that is on par with other structures in the game. What better way to admire those fantastic Allegiance logos and new ships than in a beautiful new hangar? If it isn't apparent, I personally undervalue this particular feature. I don't view it as a bad or a negative thing at all, just a bit overhyped in my opinion. From now until the release of Uprising in November, there will be a steady stream of updates and content as shown in the roadmap below, while the narrative arc will also continue to advance the story and game. Our goal moving forward is to unveil more of our roadmap to the community as the time progresses. Stay alert, keep your eyes open to the stars, your warp drive ready, and your ammo loaded. So here's the roadmap. September, you're going to see some ships. There's also a mention of the narrative arc continuing, but the narrative arc from FanFest to current has been laughable, so it's hard for me to value it. Also, GM Week is going on during this current week as we make this video. For October, significant enhancements to audio, visual, and UI for a more visceral and immersive experience. I don't care. Eve Evolved, this DirectX 12 update happened, I want to say a couple months ago, like 2 at most, and like repackaging it and say we're going to do it again, like I don't have any awareness of what audio-visual UI improvements we're having coming out in October. I imagine they're going to be very minor, but we'll have to wait and see. Also, the Horrors event will happen for October, as it does annually, so October seems to me a bit quiet, which is completely understandable when you have a quote-unquote major expansion coming out the following month. November, here's the expansion, is narrative-driven. They're really pushing this narrative-driven terminology, and I don't know if it's a branding attempt or if it's more of a, hey, if our pacing seems off, if we don't put everything out on day one, it's because of the narrative. Yeah, that's kind of the take on that one. The time is quickly approaching for Capsuleers across the cluster to rise up, unite under their banners, storm the front lines, and do it in style. That's the end of the dev blog. The video for the trailer for the expansion is less than a minute long. We're going to start off right here. I'll mute and unmute as needed for the commentary. So to me, this is like a cyberpunk feel. I'm not saying that this is what they were going for, just it's what it reminds me of. Maybe there are ship assets hidden in the background here that I don't recognize. Maybe you guys will spot something. Speculation that this was a new ship yesterday I'd seen going around. Obviously Gila, Moa, Eagle, something like that. Cormorants, I don't see anything else here. Alright, so these are the videos that were defragmented from the data spools that people were finding in the last couple of months for the quote-unquote arc happening in-game lore. Here we have faction warfare, frontline systems. I think we're seeing where the first one of these is going to be. This is topographical, I presume. The planet here, maybe? I don't think this is space, but I could be wrong. These could be ships, I don't know, but I feel like they're like land assets. I'm sure people have done far more extensive research. I remember seeing the Earth stream going over this icon here, or this image here, and trying to break down information. This is the Stellar Harvester. You've got your evil, personal bias here. Evil Amarian overseeing the construction of a device that's going to, harm the sun. I believe in Mimitar space. We've seen this on the Earth stream as well, as its construction has developed over time. This seems even further advanced than the one we've seen on that stream, though, so I don't know. Well, we almost missed it there. So a lot of commentary has been going around and speculation. Nobody knows why Gandalf is in EVE Online. We've got a gentleman with, I presume, metal hands or gauntlets, holding a walking stick, and clearly, undeniably, wearing a wizard's hat from like RuneScape or something. I don't know what's going on here. We don't even know what planet this is, or how it ties into the expansion. Maybe it'll be part of the narrative. Maybe this is going to be like a planetary citizen watching the sun go out later on. I don't know. Alright, that's the meat and potatoes of it. Maybe in one of those images you've seen the new ships that are coming out and we've just missed them so far, or other people have already made commentary on them. But if you have spotted something you think is interesting, put it in the comments down below. That brings the end of the video. I try to keep it as concise as possible. We're still at 15 minutes, so I apologize. Hopefully you watched it at sped up speeds. If you've not done so already, hit the subscribe button down below, and we'll see you next time.